what has this pandemic revealed to society's values?
Um, I think it's interesting. I think there's a lot of different things, and you can kind of look at it at many different levels. But I think a couple of like the biggest things, and I think especially even for me, like coming from a public health perspective, we've talked a lot about like just like the different socio-economic and like cultural like values that we all have as a
Mm-hmm.
society. And I think like through this all, we can see how like the economy is a huge value to everyone,
Yeah.
and then like how to manage that simultaneously with like our social values and our cultural values of, we want to go to the beach, it is summertime, and we want to be able to do this. And so like that balance between the two. And I think for me it's interesting just seeing how the country as a whole is very divided in many of these ways, but at the same time like coming together to create like different like avenues
Yeah.
to express those things. And so I think for me, like that was one of the biggest things that like surprised me, like socially, like Zoom cocktail hours and things like that. Like it's a very different way to like socialize. So people have come up because for them that is one of their main values. And so it's just interesting seeing how the pandemic has highlighted these values in many ways, and then as a result forced people to adapt to change to them. So I think like that is, I would
Great.
say, like one of the biggest ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Just a quick follow-up question. Uh,
Mm.
as we know, you're in Laos right now, so and a lot of your friends are still in the United States, I'm sure. So from what you can tell, how is Laos treating the virus differently than, or how are things differently there than they are in the United States?
Mm. It's a very different situation here because we are probably an anomaly in the world in terms of countries and cases. So in the end of March, we had our first case here, and we had 19 cases that followed, all kind of connected to the first case and imported cases. They locked down the country for a month, and we've had no more cases since.
Wow.
So total of 19 cases. And as of right now, the country is slowly starting to open up, and there are no more confirmed cases. Do we believe that? We're not really sure. My dad works in public health here, so we're able to very closely monitor, hospital rates and things that kind of correspond. If you would have assumed that there were cases here,
Yeah.
you would see in the hospitals, you would see in various different ways that there is cases, but we haven't seen that yet. So for the country, it's a very weird place to be in the sense that it's like, I almost feel like a false sense of security. Like there
Hmm.
are no cases, so I can kind of go and do my life kind of normally. But the country, I mean, being in Asia, they're definitely more, mask friendly. So everyone wears masks, um, which is very
Awesome.
different than the US. So it's little things that are different. The hand washing stations were built outside of restaurants and, stores. So for that I would say that is a little bit different. But besides that,
Great.
it's been pretty yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. To kind of continue talking about your own experience, uh, what has uh, what has this pandemic revealed to your own values?
Mm. Um, I definitely, value like the ability for me to be able to get back to Lao and get back to my parents. I think that was like one of the things. It was definitely scary, and I recognize that like my family has a lot of privilege in the sense that my dad was able to very quickly work with the Ministry of Health and the government to get me and my brother, who was also at university in the States,
Hmm.
visas very quickly. And so um, we were then able to get back here, and that like isn't normally how it works. And we were very fortunate to be able to get that, that to happen. Um, and like I get to spend time with my family, which I really valued. And then like I still, have found different ways to connect with my friends. And, I still do hope very soon to be able to get back to Santa Clara and come back to school. So I have a lot of, for me, in terms of value, like I value what I've been able to be able to do, um, and
Great.
recognize that it's not going to be perfect for everyone, but I at least have, you have to look at the positive in any situation.
Awesome. I agree with that. And then my last question, 50 years from now, what would you like people to remember about these times?
Mm. I think resilience would be a good one, like just everyone's
Yeah.
ability to kind of like take a step and relax. And I think everyone really wants to go and constantly be doing things, but I think recognizing that we're all fighting the battle in a different way, and for everyone it's bringing up different challenges, and recognizing that. And then, I mean, I hope that this pandemic is a turning point for a lot of different societal and structural issues that I think the pandemic has started to highlight, including disparities again with like access to healthcare. And,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's ridiculous that we're like this pandemic is harming marginalized communities so much more in the United States. And I just think that that's something that's not okay. We need to address that. And I hope that this pandemic, we're able to see that and ultimately address it. And then 50 years from now, we can say, oh, this was a turning point in history for, healthcare and society and the way we look at, the world.